Every person reaches a moment in life when they must decide either to remain as they are or to rise beyond what they've been. Growth never happens by accident. It begins the instant you look at your own reflection and say, "This is not where I'm meant to stop." The moment you refuse to stay the same is the moment life opens its doors and invites you to become more than you were yesterday. Most people live their lives waiting for change, waiting for opportunity, waiting for the perfect time. But growth doesn't wait. It demands a decision. It demands movement. The world changes only for those who decide that they themselves must change first. Because the truth is simple, your life expands only as much as your mind does. The person who grows is not the one who knows the most, but the one who dares to leave behind what is comfortable. Comfort is the great enemy of progress. It whispers softly, telling you that what you have is enough, that it's too risky to try again, that it's safer to stay where you are. But comfort is a cage, beautifully decorated, gently locked, silently deadly. And every day you choose comfort, you trade a piece of your potential for a moment of ease. Growth demands courage. It asks you to walk into the unknown, to step away from the familiar path, and trust that something greater waits beyond it. It doesn't guarantee success overnight, but it promises transformation. Every step forward, every new lesson, every challenge accepted, all of it reshapes you. The real victory isn't in what you get, it's in who you become. You see, refusing to stay the same means refusing to let fear define you. Fear is not a signal to stop. It's a sign that you're moving towards something meaningful. Each time you push through it, you build strength, resilience, and self-respect. You begin to realize that growth is not about changing your circumstances first. It's about changing your thinking, your habits, your standards. If you want to see growth in your life, begin with a single, powerful decision. I will no longer be satisfied with just existing. Growth doesn't happen in a single moment. It's a daily act of renewal, a constant choice to evolve. The person who grows understands that life itself is motion. When you stop growing, you stop living. So when you wake up tomorrow, don't ask the world to change. Ask yourself, what part of me needs to grow today? That question is the seed of every transformation. It's the call to action that separates those who merely drift from those who truly live. Because the moment you refuse to stay the same, you ignite the quiet, unstoppable power that was within you all along. The power to grow beyond everything you've ever been. Growth starts with a decision. A single choice, often made quietly within the mind, can change the entire direction of a person's life. That moment, when you decide that you will no longer remain the same, is when you unlock a force that's been waiting inside you all along. Most people underestimate the power of a decision. They think growth happens over time, by chance or through some external event. But real growth begins within. It starts the moment you draw a line and say, from this point on, things will be different. That inner decision shifts something in the way you think, the way you see the world, and the way you act each day. Without that decision, no progress is possible. You may wish for more, dream for more, even plan for more, but until you decide to become more, you stay exactly where you are. A decision has energy in it. It's not just a thought. It's a commitment that rearranges your priorities. It's the difference between saying, I want to change, and saying, I will change. Those few letters make all the difference because one is hope and the other is action. When you decide that growth is no longer optional, that you will not live another day repeating the same patterns that hold you back, your mind begins to align everything toward that new direction. It's as if life starts to cooperate with the one who finally knows where they are going. The moment of decision is the spark that lights the fire of transformation. Many people wait for motivation before making a decision, but motivation rarely comes to those who sit still. The decision itself creates motivation. Once you decide, you begin to move, and once you move, momentum takes over. The smallest act becomes significant when fueled by the certainty of your decision. Even the obstacles that once seemed impossible begin to shrink in size. Because the decision has already been made, you're not turning back. When a person decides fully, their world begins to reshape itself around that choice. They begin to notice new opportunities, meet new people, and think new thoughts that align with their direction. That is the invisible magic of decision. True decision means cutting off every other option. It's not a half-hearted wish or a temporary enthusiasm. It's a full surrender to the path of change. When you truly decide, doubt loses its grip. You no longer entertain excuses or look for an easier way. You begin to accept responsibility for your life, and that acceptance gives you strength. Every new achievement begins with this kind of mental turning point. You stop blaming circumstances, other people, or luck, and start realizing that your future is shaped by the choices you make right now. There is a kind of peace that comes with a firm decision. Even if the path ahead is uncertain, you no longer feel scattered. You know what you want, and you are willing to do what it takes to grow into it. This mental clarity clears away hesitation and fear. It's like switching on a light in a dark room. You finally see where you're going. The first step becomes obvious, then the next. And with each step, your confidence grows. It's not the size of the decision that matters, but the conviction behind it. Some of the greatest transformations begin with a small but sincere choice to think differently, to wake earlier, to stop a destructive habit, to read 1 page a day, to say no when it matters. These decisions seem small, but they build a foundation for massive change. They signal to your mind that you are no longer content with the old version of yourself. They mark the point where growth begins. The beauty of decision is that it doesn't require perfection. It only requires honesty, the courage to admit that where you are now is not where you want to remain. Once that realization takes hold, you no longer need someone to push you forward. The decision becomes your driving force. It keeps you steady when challenges appear. It pulls you back when distractions arise, and it reminds you of what you're capable of becoming. Growth doesn't ask for talent or luck. It asks for a decision, one that you make not once, but again and again, each time you refuse to stay the same. Comfort is the enemy of progress. It's the invisible chain that keeps people anchored in the same place year after year, even while they say they want change. Comfort feels safe, familiar, and predictable, but that's also what makes it dangerous. It dulls ambition and silences the voice inside that whispers, "You were made for more." The moment you become comfortable with mediocrity, you stop reaching. You stop questioning and you stop growing. The truth is, no one ever became great by staying comfortable. Every person who achieved something meaningful in life did so because they were willing to be uncomfortable for a while. Growth lies just beyond the borders of ease, and only those brave enough to step outside find it waiting for them. Comfort promises peace, but it delivers stagnation. It disguises itself as satisfaction, but it's really a slow surrender of potential. You tell yourself that you're fine where you are, that you'll make a change later, that you're not ready yet. And before you know it, time slips away. The comfort zone is not a place, it's a mindset that keeps you repeating the same patterns. It's the quiet acceptance of good enough. It feels safe because nothing changes there. But that safety comes at the cost of everything you could become. The more you choose comfort, the more you drift away from the life you were capable of living. Progress demands discomfort because it forces you to grow into someone stronger. Just like muscles only grow when pushed beyond their limits, the mind and spirit expand when challenged. Discomfort is not a punishment. It's the signal that you're evolving. When you face uncertainty, when you feel stretched, when things feel difficult, that's life testing your readiness for more. Every challenge holds within it a lesson, and every lesson builds your capacity. People often pray for growth, but reject the very discomfort that would bring it. They want progress without pressure, change without challenge, and mastery without struggle. But it doesn't work that way. The price of progress is discomfort, and those who embrace it discover strength they never knew they had. The trap of comfort is that it rewards you instantly. It gives you the immediate relief of not trying, not failing, not stretching. But what feels easy today often becomes regret tomorrow. Discomfort, on the other hand, feels costly now but pays dividends later. The discipline to do what's difficult builds self-respect and momentum. Each time you choose growth over ease, you train your mind to prioritize purpose over pleasure. The more often you do it, the stronger you become. You stop running from discomfort and start using it as a tool. You begin to see it as proof that you're alive, moving, evolving. Look around at those who rise in life. They're not always the smartest or the most talented, but they're almost always the ones who are willing to endure discomfort for a greater goal. They do what others avoid. They wake early, stay focused, and push forward even when it's not easy. Their secret isn't luck, it's tolerance for discomfort. They understand that progress doesn't happen when everything feels right. It happens when you push through what feels wrong. Comfort keeps you in yesterday's version of yourself, but discomfort creates the new one. When you stay comfortable, you stop learning. You repeat the same thoughts, the same routines, the same safe choices. Life becomes predictable but empty. The excitement of discovery fades, replaced by quiet frustration. Deep down, you know something is missing, but you can't see what. What's missing is challenge, the friction that makes growth possible. Without challenge, potential remains buried. Every great breakthrough in life begins with the courage to step away from comfort and face the unknown. There's a quiet kind of power that comes from rejecting comfort. It's not loud or dramatic, it's steady and deliberate. It's waking up and choosing the harder path, not because it's easy, but because it's right. It's facing your fears, having uncomfortable conversations, learning new skills, and doing what others won't. This willingness separates those who wish from those who achieve. Comfort will always whisper that it's fine to stay where you are, but progress speaks a different language. It calls you to rise, to stretch, to live fully awake. And while comfort may give you rest, only discomfort will give you growth. Courage fuels growth. Every advancement in life begins with an act of courage, small, silent, and often unseen by the world. It is the invisible force that moves a person forward when fear says stop. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to keep going despite it. Every person feels doubt, uncertainty, and hesitation when standing on the edge of something new. But the ones who grow are those who take the step anyway. Growth requires courage because it always asks you to do something unfamiliar, to walk into territory where you might fail, and to trust that you'll find your strength along the way. Without courage, potential stays locked away, waiting for a day that never comes. Courage is not loud or dramatic. It doesn't always look like grand gestures or fearless acts. Sometimes it's as quiet as waking up early to try again after failure. It's choosing to speak when silence feels safer. It's saying no when others expect you to agree. It's being honest about what you want and refusing to let fear decide your future. Courage often looks like persistence, the quiet determination to keep building, learning, and believing even when no one is watching. It's the inner fire that says, I will not give up on myself. That fire is what fuels every ounce of growth, because without courage, there can be no change. Fear is the gatekeeper of every next level in life. It stands between where you are and where you want to be. Most people see fear as a wall, but it's really a doorway. The moment you walk through it, you discover that the power it seemed to hold over you was an illusion. Fear loses strength the second you act in spite of it. Each courageous act builds momentum, and each bit of momentum pushes fear further back. This is how courage multiplies. It grows through use. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. The less you use it, the more fear controls your choices. Courage also brings clarity. When you act with courage, you stop second-guessing yourself. You no longer waste energy wondering if you're good enough or ready enough. You simply decide to move forward, and that movement reveals what's possible. Life begins to respond differently to those who lead with courage. Doors open. Ideas emerge. People appear who help you along the way. Courage doesn't guarantee instant success, but it guarantees growth, because even when things don't go as planned, you learn, adapt, and become stronger. Every act of courage expands who you are. Growth is not for those who avoid risk. It belongs to those who accept that uncertainty is part of the journey. Courage allows you to embrace the unknown without needing to control it. It teaches you to act even when the outcome isn't clear. That's where true power is found, the ability to take action when your mind whispers doubts. Every major breakthrough in history, every innovation, every transformation began with someone daring to do what others thought was impossible. That same power lies in every individual who is willing to take a risk in pursuit of something greater. Courage changes your relationship with failure. Instead of seeing failure as defeat, you begin to see it as feedback. Each setback becomes a lesson that refines you. You realize that the only true failure is refusing to try. Courage transforms mistakes into wisdom and obstacles into stepping stones. It shifts your focus from what could go wrong to what could go right. And with that mindset, growth becomes inevitable because you are no longer controlled by fear of loss or rejection. You are guided by the belief that every experience, good or bad, is shaping you into someone wiser and stronger. Every time you choose courage over comfort, something powerful happens inside you. You build trust in yourself. You begin to believe that you can handle whatever comes next. That belief becomes your strength, and that strength becomes your foundation for growth. You stop waiting for the right time or perfect conditions and start creating your own opportunities. Courage doesn't just move you forward. It changes who you are on the inside. It turns hesitation into confidence, fear into action, and dreams into reality. The more you act with courage, the more you realize that growth isn't something that happens to you. It's something you earn through every brave step you take. Fear signals opportunity. Most people misunderstand fear, thinking it's a warning to stop or turn back, but in truth, fear is often the signal that you're standing at the threshold of growth. It appears not to harm you, but to test you, to see if you are ready for the next level of your potential. The presence of fear usually means you are moving towards something meaningful. It shows up when you are stretching beyond what you know, when you're about to grow, when you're stepping into uncertainty. Those who retreat here appears remain trapped in the same patterns, while those who lean into it discover that fear is not an obstacle, but a guide pointing them toward transformation. Fear is a natural response to the unfamiliar. It's the mind's way of protecting you from the unknown. But the unknown is where all progress happens. If you wait until fear disappears before you act, you'll wait forever. Because fear never truly goes away. It simply changes shape as you grow. The key is not to eliminate fear, but to learn how to move with it. The most successful people aren't fearless. They're simply brave enough to act despite their fear. They've learned that fear loses its grip when faced directly. The very thing you avoid out of fear often holds the reward you've been searching for. When you learn to see fear as a signal instead of a stop sign, it becomes one of your greatest teachers. It shows you exactly where your growth lies. Fear of speaking reveals the opportunity to develop confidence. Fear of failure reveals the chance to strengthen resilience. Fear of rejection reveals the need for self-acceptance. Every fear hides a lesson about who you could become if you faced it. Once you understand this, you stop running from fear and start listening to it. You begin to ask, what is this trying to teach me? What strength is this trying to awaken? Those questions turn fear into fuel. The path to mastery is paved with moments of fear. Each time you act despite it, you expand your capacity for courage. What once terrified you becomes ordinary, and new challenges take its place. Growth always demands a higher version of you, and fear is the signal that you are approaching that version. It's the threshold between who you are and who you're becoming. When you feel fear, it's often because life is inviting you to rise to a greater level of awareness, strength, and confidence. The discomfort you feel isn't a sign that you're weak. It's a sign that you're evolving. People often think fear is a barrier, but more often it's a mirror reflecting your deepest desire. You fear not because something is wrong, but because something matters. Fear surrounds the things that have the power to change your life. It's not there to hold you back, but to highlight what's truly important to you. That's why when you feel fear, it's a sign to pay attention, not to retreat. The areas where you feel the strongest fear are often the very areas where you have the greatest potential. When you confront those fears, you unlock abilities you didn't know you had. Fear also reveals how much faith you have in yourself. The more you trust your ability to adapt and learn, the less power fear has over you. You start to see fear as part of the process rather than a threat. You no longer seek to avoid it, because you know that each time you step through fear, your confidence grows. The unknown becomes exciting instead of terrifying. What once made you hesitate becomes a challenge you welcome. You begin to see that the only way to truly fail is to let fear decide for you. Every moment of fear is an invitation to act with courage to move closer to your purpose. Fear and growth are inseparable companions. Where one exists, the other is near. The greatest mistake is to wait for fear to disappear before you begin. You grow by acting while your hands still shake, while your heart still races, while uncertainty still lingers. Because when you do, something extraordinary happens. The fear fades, the path clears, and you discover that the power you were looking for was never beyond the fear. It was within you all along. Real change begins in the mind. Every transformation that happens in a person's life starts with a single shift in the way they think. Nothing in your external world can truly change until something first changes within you. The thoughts you consistently hold shape your beliefs, your habits, and your actions. Your outer world is simply a reflection of your inner one. This is why two people can face the same situation. One sees limitation while the other sees opportunity. The difference is not in the circumstance, but in the mindset. When you learn to think differently, you begin to live differently. Every achievement, every breakthrough, every reinvention begins in the unseen realm of the mind. Most people try to change their lives by rearranging things on the outside, switching jobs, moving cities, seeking new relationships. But until their thinking evolves, they end up repeating the same patterns under new conditions. Real change doesn't come from what surrounds you. It comes from what guides you. Your mind is the foundation of your future. When your thinking is limited, your results will be limited no matter how hard you work. But when your thinking expands, so does your entire life. The first step to growth is not doing something new. It's seeing things in a new way. The human mind is a powerful instrument. Whatever you feed it, it multiplies. If you fill it with doubt, you'll live cautiously. If you fill it with possibility, you'll live boldly. The thoughts you dwell on become the architecture of your reality. This is why guarding your thoughts is one of the most important disciplines in life. Every day you are programming your mind, either consciously through intention or unconsciously through repetition. The person who takes control of their thinking takes control of their destiny. It begins with awareness, the simple act of noticing what you think about most. Awareness gives you choice, and choice gives you power. Change in the mind often begins with a question. Questions like, why not me? Or what if I could? Open new doors in your thinking. They challenge old beliefs and invite new ones to take root. The mind cannot resist a powerful question. It begins searching for answers and possibilities you hadn't seen before. Over time, these new ideas reshape your identity. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance and start seeing yourself as the creator of your path. That shift in identity changes everything. You begin to act from vision rather than reaction, from purpose rather than fear. Real change also requires discipline of thought. The mind naturally gravitates toward comfort, repetition, and the familiar. To think differently means to challenge yourself daily, to question assumptions, to replace old patterns with new ones that align with who you want to become. This is why growth is often uncomfortable. It requires unlearning before learning. You must let go of limiting beliefs that once felt safe. You must trade the certainty of the old for the possibility of the new. The process may feel uncertain, but it's the only path to lasting transformation. When your thinking begins to change, everything else follows naturally. You attract new ideas, new habits, and new people that reflect your new level of awareness. Life begins to respond to the vibration of your thoughts. You find yourself noticing opportunities that were invisible before, because your mind is now tuned to a higher frequency. The problems that once seemed overwhelming become manageable, because you've developed the mental clarity to see them differently. Even your emotions begin to shift, because your thoughts are the roots from which your feelings grow. Real change doesn't come from wishing for better circumstances, it comes from building a better mindset. The person who masters their mind masters their world. When you decide to think on purpose, to choose empowering thoughts instead of automatic ones, you begin to rewrite the story of your life. Change starts the moment you believe that you are capable of more, that your current reality is not the limit but a starting point. Every new level of success, peace, or fulfillment begins in the same place, with a mind willing to think beyond what it is known, to imagine what could be, and to act as though it were already possible. Growth is a daily commitment. It's not something that happens once or only when inspiration strikes. It's something that must be chosen again and again, moment by moment, day after day. The decision to grow is renewed each morning when you wake up and decide that today you will think a little clearer, act a little braver, and become a little stronger than yesterday. Growth isn't a single event, it's a continual process of refinement, a constant unfolding of potential. It asks for consistency more than intensity. The greatest transformations don't come from one grand effort, but from a series of small, deliberate steps taken every day with discipline and purpose. Growth is built in the quiet hours when no one is watching, in the moments when you could take the easy route but choose the harder one instead. It happens in the way you respond to challenge, in how you speak to yourself when you fall short, in the willingness to keep learning even after success. A daily commitment means you understand that progress doesn't always feel dramatic. Some days, growth looks like patience. Other days, it looks like persistence. It's the accumulation of countless small victories that eventually create the person you become. The daily effort compounds silently, until one day you realize you are no longer who you were. You've evolved without even noticing it happen. Committing to daily growth means refusing to become stagnant. It's easy to become comfortable once you've achieved a little success, but true growth-minded individuals understand that there is always more to learn, more to explore, more to give. The moment you stop stretching, you begin to decline. Life itself is motion. Everything alive is growing or decaying. To stay still is to move backward. That's why you must make growth part of your lifestyle, not a phase or a project. It's something you live, something that becomes woven into your identity. You read to expand your mind, practice to sharpen your skills, reflect to strengthen your wisdom, and act to test your courage. Each day presents countless opportunities to grow, but most of them go unnoticed because they come disguised as small choices. Whether to complain or to be grateful, to procrastinate or to take the first step, to react or to respond with awareness, these are the crossroads of daily growth. The person who grows understands that every choice is a seed, and every seed will eventually bear fruit. That awareness makes you more intentional about how you think, speak, and act. When you see each day as an opportunity to plant better seeds, you stop drifting and start creating your future conscious. Daily growth also requires humility. It takes the wisdom to admit that you don't know everything and the openness to keep learning from everyone and everything around you. The moment you believe you've arrived, you close the door to improvement. True strength lies in being teachable, in remaining curious, in seeing every experience as a lesson. Each day brings something that can shape you, if you're willing to listen. Even setbacks can serve your growth if you choose to learn from them rather than resent them. What happens to you is less important than what you extract from it. The commitment to grow daily transforms time into an ally. Instead of feeling like days slip away unnoticed, each day becomes purposeful. You start to value your mornings, your routines, your moments of reflection. You realize that greatness is not built in a day, but it is built every day. Progress becomes less about chasing perfection and more about improving by 1% at a time. With consistency, even small changes create extraordinary results. That's the secret behind all enduring success. It's not intensity, but persistence. When growth becomes your daily standard, life gains momentum. You begin to attract opportunities that match your discipline. You stop waiting for motivation because the act of showing up itself becomes your motivation. Each day you honor your commitment. Your confidence deepens, your habits strengthen, and your direction becomes clearer. You start to realize that growth is not about reaching a finish line. It's about showing up each day with the intention to be a little better than before. The commitment to daily growth is the foundation of every lasting achievement, the quiet promise you make to yourself to never stop evolving, to never stop learning, and to keep rising one day at a time.